Welcome to the Overland Sea podcast. Today we are talking about the Brentford game that has just happened this weekend. Andrew, disappointing result. What were your thoughts going into this game, and how did you see the game panning out?
Well, I thought if we played the way that we did against Arsenal, I thought we'd do well and we'd win relatively comfortably. Although it's a different Brentford are a different animal to Arsenal because they play completely differently. And there is no to say that they're more of a difficult team for us to play because they are good at sitting back, defending, and then counter-attacking quickly.
Yeah,
Um, which turned out to be true. They showed that. We had all of the ball, struggled really to do much with it in their final third, but they had 8 players in the box basically every time we attacked. And then broke quickly. They had a few good chances of their own. I think 2 of which they took. One of them they had a decent cross at the back post that their player tried to control and just chested it out of play. But other than that, I don't think they caused us too many problems. But we didn't really cause them any. Nonny hit the bar.
great shot. I mean, I didn't expect that. It was a great shot.
And the only threat that we had was from Nonny and Sterling doing sort of very direct runs. That seemed to work. But the problem was, even if you beat your man, got the ball in, there were sort of 7 of their players that were trying to clear the ball against 1 or 2 of ours, and it was difficult to find one of the 2 of ours. And when we did, they fluffed it, or one of the defenders blocked it. So it's difficult. I think we were hard done by to lose the game on the grand scheme of things when you look at performances and whatever. But it's typical Chelsea of if you don't take your chances, you're not going to win games. And we give too many very good opportunities away. So disheartening performance, although I thought most players played all right. It was just difficult.
Yeah, I thought they'd go for a similar lineup as to what they did against Arsenal. I was surprised to see Gusto not playing. I didn't see anything in the injury list before, and unless I missed it, saying that Gusto was unavailable to start. So I thought that was a bit weird. I probably wouldn't have played Jackson. I was surprised to see Jackson playing. I would have played the 3 that we had against Arsenal. I just thought it worked really well. Granted, Brentford are not Arsenal and they play a different way. Like you said, they sit back. They're horrifically well organised. The shape that they kept, because obviously where we're sitting in the West View, the shape that they kept all game was brilliant. And when you do get a counter against them, they track back so quickly. It's insane. Like I can't believe it. I don't think Jackson had the best game. I think you remember the guy behind us talking like it's a baby giraffe trying to watch football, where me, and Mum just were like, fucking hell. I mean, I couldn't argue with the man. It's a bit harsh, but I was like, that's legit.
The other one that got me, same bloke, I think, came out with
He comes out with some
Jackson.
corkers. Fuck.
Jackson kicks the ball like he doesn't have knees, like he's just straight
Yeah,
legged
yeah,
it and a
yeah,
half.
yeah.
He does. That's so annoying. But you're right, man. He does.
It's like watching Ronaldo take a free kick with his straight leg, or David Luiz when he
Yeah.
used to do it, and he's not wrong. Yeah, I think he's struggling at the moment. He's not able to get round the tight defenses, and his touch just isn't quite there. His link up play with Cole Palmer was brilliant. I know Mudryk and Enzo both had slight knocks. I've heard that there might have been some other reason as to why they weren't playing. Obviously, Enzo has just become a dad for the second time to a baby boy. Congratulations to you and your family, Enzo. I know you're obviously watching. The first half, I thought we were really good. I don't think we turned up in the second half. We didn't switch on in the beginning of the second half, and we then struggled to get back in the game after they scored. For me,
Yeah. I think the reason that Zazie was playing right back,
I was going to ask you about that.
I'm assuming that was for height. because Brentford are a very tall team. And I think he he really quite likes having three centre backs on the pitch and having them sort of basically when we're attacking, we have a back three. He just
Yeah,
seems to like that formations, and I think that I don't know whether we'll ever get out of that when we've got Reece James and Chilwell back, and we've got out and out right and left backs that it's difficult to leave out. But yeah, it's not necessarily what I would have done. And then on the other points, yeah, obviously you can't start the same front three if Mudrik's injured, so it be what it be. And if Enzo's injured, then it makes sense to put Cole Palmer in that midfield. It's either Cole Palmer or Les, isn't it? And I think in that game, having Caicedo and Les as defensive midfielders isn't beneficial because realistically, you should only need one. If you're playing, it's a big bugbear I have with England, but if you're playing effectively three centre backs that are sitting the whole time, and then you've got a defensive midfielder in front of them, you shouldn't need another defensive midfielder
yeah,
that's sitting back to stop attacks, especially when you think that you should have more of the ball and the balance of play should be with you. More often than not, they'll only be breaking with two or three players, so that should be sufficient. So I think, given the circumstances, the team that he put out is probably the one that made the most sense. I don't think there's anyone that was on the bench that I was that upset about, other than fine, Gusto is the only other change that you could probably make to what he played. But yeah, I know second half we weren't great, but I think part of that was more Brentford in the fact that they got the goal. I don't think for the first whatever period of the second half there was a noticeable decline in our play from the first half. But I think once they got the goal, they really sat back, camped in, and stopped us really doing anything. And I think it was more how organised and well Brentford were playing and how difficult they made it for us rather than us playing really badly.
I don't think we played badly. I don't think we came out in the second half with the same intensity, I think is the right word to use, that we did in the first half. I thought we were the better team in the first half. And I think, I don't know, for me, I think Chelsea just came out a bit demoralised, and I think Brentford woke up and went up another gear. You are right about the goal. But we always knew that was going to be the case against a team like that. As soon as they get a goal, when they like to counterattack, you know they're going to sit back, because they sat back in the first half and we couldn't break through. So we needed something a bit special, and I struggled in the second half to see which player was going to bring that. And we had very few attacking options on the bench. I mean, Matson came on, James came on, Washington finally got his debut, which I was quite happy to see, which was under a better situation, and not relying on him to get a goal. But we didn't have a lot of height. I know Dad was screaming about getting people into the box and stuff, but we only had one player really there that had any height that could get a header. The box was so compact. They don't give too many fouls away inside their third. So yeah, I was actually more worried about the Brentford game than I was about the Arsenal game. And they've now gone above us, I believe, from that win. So yeah, I mean, I came away frustrated from the game, and I'm then sort of questioned: is it because we had certain players out, or is it because we need more depth and more quality? I don't know. What do you think about that? Whether we need more depth and more quality?
I think we've just got too many injuries. I think that's the problem. you can see the positives sort of coming out. I think Brentford are a team that you absolutely have to take your chances against.
Yeah.
Because they don't give you many, and we didn't do that. And unfortunately, the chances seem to fall to Cucurella or someone that you wouldn't expect to take the chance every time. I think Jackson looks very isolated at times with certain players playing. I think, and I think both Sterling and Noni actually weren't particularly close to him, whether that's what they were told to do to get out wide or because of how Brentford were. They were defensively in a back five, which might have meant that it kind of pushed them further wide to actually be able to get some space and get the ball. But Jackson looked very isolated for a lot of the game. And I think Brentford just made it difficult. They defended with intensity, and you anytime a player got past someone, there was another player that got in there, and then they had to beat the same player again because he tracked back, and you'd have to beat a player 3 times to get anything. And I thought Sterling and Noni did well with that, but just they're trying to find one, maybe 2 men in the box that are against 6 or 7 players. And more often than not, you're not going to win that unless you have someone that is bigger and stronger than the other team, so can win a header, which we don't really have. Or they're that much quicker or that much more intelligent. So they make an incredibly intelligent run that somehow means that, and the pass has to be absolutely world class as well to weave its way through the 3 men that are between where you want the ball to end up and where you're kicking it from. So I think there is an argument to say that there's a slight lack of quality there and there's a lack of strength and depth because we haven't had because we're not taking these chances, and as soon as someone gets injured at the minute, we haven't really got anyone to come in and is anywhere near the same level, really. But I think that's because we've got so many injuries to either the starting someone that would start in Nkunku or someone that is a very reasonable backup option in a Romeo Lavia. And because they're injured, Enzo then gets injured, and you're like, right, so now we either have to pull Cole Palmer back rather than play him on the right wing where he's sort of excelled and or we have to put Big Les in, who's defensive and more defensive and not as transitional as we need a player to be. And I think Lavia is someone that you probably would have pushed into midfield and put Cole Palmer on out wide, which seems to work better for us. So I think it's just a lot of it's just when you have 8 injuries, it's very difficult then to have that level of depth to be able to have another few players that do it. And realistically, the only club in the world that has that is City. Every other team in the world would struggle with the amount of injuries that we have. So it is kind of what it is at the minute. And we just need to get these players back fit and actually fit, not struggling through an injury, but we need them to play. And obviously, we've got a lot of tough games coming up, which means we want to play the same players every week. These are the best 11 we can get out. And then we go into the Christmas period as well. And there's an international break. Where most of our players will just disappear off anyway. And we have no control over what they're doing and how they're playing anyway. So, and if Broja comes back before then, because he plays for Armenia, they're guaranteed to kind of need him. Whereas if he was Spanish, they'd have other options. Say if he was one of the ones that Spain wanted. So that is unfortunate. But we can only do what we can do in the meantime. We've got Blackburn coming up soon. So hopefully we can give games to more of the players that haven't played, that we find ourselves needing to rely on, like a Washington that has come off the bench, never really had competitive minutes with any of the players. So one, we can see what he can do, and two, he can just have some more time getting used to British football.
Yes, definitely agree with that. I would like to see him play and a couple of other people play, but more on that in the next episode. No, I do agree with the whole idea of playing Big Les and Caicedo. I think you hit the nail on the head. It was something I was going to say, which is I don't think they're very good on the ball. It's not like when we had Kante and he could play more up to the pitch and a bit more quality. So I do agree with that. I think that was a big difference in terms of why we played the setup that we did. I don't think Cole Palmer did badly at all in the game. I don't think he had a bad game for us. I thought he did a lot. I thought he struggled to get onto the ball in some situations, had to drop deep. But he does play that position on the right really, really well. And I think he does offer something a little bit different to what Sterling and Noni can do in that position. So yeah, I think Enzo was a big miss. And I want to say Mudryk was a big miss. He's definitely improving with every game, but I don't think Sterling and Noni did anything wrong. I think Enzo was the bigger miss in that game in terms of having another player to try and create something from the middle or spread the ball wide. I think it did become, as the game went on, more and more on Cole Palmer's shoulders to sort of create something.
Yeah, for me, Cole Palmer was our best player.
By far.
I think he had a very good game. I just think when he's playing out wide right, he just takes up positions more naturally.
Yeah.
That cause problems. And like I say, I thought Sterling and Noni both had pretty good games, but it was just that final ball that was missing in a lot of situations, or it was inches that were wrong. It wasn't.
No, exactly. Yeah. And you've got a striker in the box that's, I don't think he's not fully there yet. He's not fully confident. And as you said, he didn't get a lot of people around him. So it became easier to defend. Most of the time you had one person to worry about in the box. So worst performer.
Oh.
We both said Cole Palmer was the best player on the pitch.
Yeah, again, I don't think anyone was particularly poor. I think the level of challenge that we gave there, Ethan Pinnock, for his goal,
yeah,
I think that was unacceptable. And for me, that falls on Disasi. And also, I think he's just inclined to be. He's always, if he's playing right back, there's always going to be an element of loss of attacking output at right back.
Yep.
Which will make him always more susceptible to that anyway. I don't think anyone was particularly poor. And it's certainly not something that I'd say we have to drop Disasi. It was shocking. But I think because that goal felt like it was his fault.
Do you think the goalkeeper could have done better?
Yeah, but I don't want to say Sanchez 2 weeks in a row. In theory, goalkeeper
I put it down to both.
it. I haven't seen it from the angle that shows how close it was. I don't know how close it was to the goal and how high it was. Maybe the goalkeeper should have claimed it, but I just think it should have been some challenge.
I felt like he just switched off a little bit, and I felt like he could have stuck out an arm. Disasi didn't mark the man properly, but at the same time, I think the goalkeeper could. He didn't look like he made that much of an effort. Like I said, I've not seen it properly either, but from what I have seen of it when we were there, he just it's almost as if he thought there was no danger once the ball had gone. Do you know what I mean? So he wasn't alert at like a second. Someone getting on ahead to it. So, and also, I just felt like throughout that game, every time he got the ball and slowed the game down for his distribution, it was really nervy.
I think that's more the crowd and specifically myself because he's made so many mistakes. I thought actually watching the game that with the ball at his feet, he did all right. I just don't like him having it at his feet now because he's just made so many mistakes already. And it feels like it's almost every game or every other game that he does make a mistake with the ball at his feet. And a lot of the time we get punished. Some of the time we get away with it. And how we're playing at the minute, we can't afford to be giving these goals away. Because, yeah, I'm not seeing the benefits of the play out from the back system in terms of we're scoring goals because we've got more of the ball. We are just retaining possession until we start going at it more and being more direct, which we have done in some games and not others. I think I'm going to be against that system of passing it around because unless we're actually going to do something with the ball, it's pointless having it. We seem to be better off when they have the ball and they're trying to do what we do. I think that's where a lot of our goals come from is we intercept a pass or we make a tackle or we do something and then we've got a 4-on-3 or we've got a 3-on-3 rather than it being 8 players back. And I think we almost need to switch how we play completely 180 degrees and just go, right, we don't really care that much about the ball, about having the ball. We are going to try killer passes almost constantly. And have a more end-to-end game because those are the games that we actually seem to do better in are the ones where the other team are actually coming forward at us. And if we let them have slightly more of the ball, then we'll get more situations where we can press them, we can do those other bits.
No, I agree. I think the press is actually one of our strongest assets as a team, and we've only utilized it in a couple of games. So yeah, you are right because we struggle to break down teams who want to park the bus. So if they've actually got the ball, then they're going to have to do something with it, or at least attempt to do something with it. So I like that. I think it's a good idea. I don't think Sanchez had a bad game. There is obviously an unnervy feel with him. Especially after mistakes that he's made. I know he's trying to draw players towards him to create gaps. He does leave it quite late to offload the ball sometimes. So I don't know if that's intentional or it's just the way he does it.
I think once the man's committed, I think we can play that pass. I don't think we need to wait to play that ball that he seems to want to wait till the dying embers of I might give this away now.
It's not far off them being able to get a foot in on him.
Yeah.
What did you think about him coming up for the corner in like the end of the second half, which led to their second goal with a counter?
I mean, it is what it is. I probably would have suggested doing it, to be honest. I think at the minute, goal difference doesn't really help us. I can't see us being in a position at the minute where goal difference is going to get us out of trouble or into the top 4 if we really pick up results at the minute. So realistically, points on the board is what you need. So giving yourself an extra player that is tall up there isn't a particularly bad option. I feel like we probably could have had someone further back.
I don't think we had anybody.
No, I think we could have had one smaller player further back.
That's the thing that gets me. It's like, yeah, bring a goalkeeper up. He's a big guy. He can cause something. It's then like, oh, who the fuck's picking this guy up? I get that. I just thought it was really weird that we had nobody like in between the halfway line and their penalty box. Everyone just seemed to be on the penalty, around the penalty box. And to be fair to him, he was the only one who chased back. I mean, he properly chased back.
He was quick as well, yeah. But
I mean, if I was him, I probably would have actually just taken somebody out, but then that means he's got a red card.
yeah, that's not worth it. It's not when we're already 1-0 down. I think maybe if you wouldn't do it if we
No,
were
not 1-0 down.
drawing or whatever, but so we wouldn't have sent him up and wouldn't have been in that position. But when it's losing by 1 or losing by 2, it's utterly pointless getting sent off and missing a few games, especially we don't have like a replacement. Maybe it's one of those like Christmas Eve. I want to spend the Christmas period with my family. I'm just going to swipe someone for absolutely no reason. But no, I think he made the right decision not swiping him.
Fair. Anything else that you want to add to this podcast?
No, just dejection.
Thank you all for watching. Like, share, subscribe, comment, follow, notification button, as always. And stay tuned for the Blackburn at home League Cup pre-game analysis.